Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We're really happy that you're watching this very special session of Women in Tech. I am Gabby, and I am here with Kara today to give you a great session on getting girls into tech. More girls and women into tech. This is a subject that is very near to our hearts, so we also hope that everyone watching this video after it has been put on all of our media will enjoy it a lot. Kara, you and I are both very passionate about getting more girls and women into tech, to get them excited and to empower them to feel like they have a place there. I'm giving the word to you so you can explain a little bit more about that.
Well, thank you so much, Gabby. And it's a delight to be here with you, and really welcome again to the whole audience, and also to the individuals that may be watching back again in the replay. We know that we get a following crowd even after we've had the event. So I'm really glad to be here tonight. And indeed, what I will do is share just a few slides to introduce everyone here to our mission, and so that you understand why we're here and what we're trying to achieve together with you. So here we go. Let me share a few things with you for today. So welcome again to this program tonight. This is a part of our Women in Tech Insights series. And we felt that it was very important to bring some tremendous speakers to you today so that we can look at this topic from many different angles. And so I'm really excited to hear from them tonight, because I think this will really open up some new thoughts on what the challenges are in getting more girls into tech. You know, is it because we're blocked by policy, or is it because we don't have the right education, or in fact, are we holding ourselves back? Is there something about our own approach that's hindering us to choose for a career in tech? But before we get into that and these four fantastic speakers that we have, Gabby, what I'd like to do is actually share with the audience a little bit more about, so who is Women in Tech and what are we here to achieve? So we are a global movement, and we have a big mission in front of us. And in fact, I think every time we discuss this number has gotten bigger over the last couple of webinars that we have run. But we do have one mission, and that is to close the gender gap. And in order to do so, we want to empower another 5 million women and girls to embrace a career or a choice of study in the field of technology. And we have the year 2030 as our objective because we have aligned ourselves with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that are a real call to action for us. And we'll talk about those in just a minute. Today, we have more than 15 formal chapters around the world, but we're also existing with individuals and members in more than 100 countries. We're close to 34,000 members worldwide, and here in the Netherlands, also close to 2,500 members. And we started just a little more than a year ago. As you can see on this slide, we launched at Elsevier's headquarters on the 18th of June last year. And in this time have attracted more than 2,500 people to join us on the journey here in the Netherlands. So what is it we want to do? As I mentioned, we're very closely aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we've chosen 5 of the 17 goals that the United Nations has put forward, because we know that the tech field is one of their main targets. What I want to stress is that of the 5 goals, goal number 5 itself is about achieving gender equality. And that is, in fact, in the center of all we do. It's really at the core of our mission. So the other 4 goals where we're really focused on impact, you can see here on this slide, but I wanted to just share 1 or 2 short examples with you so that you can understand what it is that we're doing to drive impact in empowering 5 million girls and women in the field of technology. The first is in education. And when it comes to education, we are offering advanced degree scholarships in disciplines like data science and data analytics. And we're also, as we're here tonight, focusing on the youth. And we want to bring a youth ambassador program here to the Netherlands where, in fact, I'm looking for girls of the age of about 15 to 25 to join us at Women in Tech and to be the role models of your own age group and your own peer group, to help encourage other peers and friends to join you on this mission in technology. And I would say for all the parents that are out there listening right now, if you have children in this age, we hope that tonight's event will also encourage you to get your children, your daughters, if you have them, to get them into technology. So we're very focused on that age segment also within this education sphere. We're also looking at entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. So maybe you're inside of a large corporation and looking to gain confidence in getting your voice on the table and to pitch your ideas. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and pitching your ideas means standing on a stage in front of venture capitalists. And so we're offering a pitch program to help you gain the confidence in that area. We also have a role models program, and we're in fact halfway through that program right now, Gabby. Hey, we're
Yep.
2 courses through that session, and 2 more to go. And we're really looking at what the data has told us is important in terms of what people look for in a role model. And so we've been diving into topics around your passions, your purpose, your presence. And even in our finale in December, we're going to be talking about how you pay it forward. And so it's a very high impact session of giving skills to individuals to learn how to become your best role model. In the science and technology area of the SDGs, this relates to SDG number 9, we're running executive tech roundtables with executive women in the Netherlands and beyond, where we're really trying to tackle some of these more complex topics today through the lens of technology, staying on the cutting edge, making sure that we have a voice in these discussions and in the trends in order to be able to be a part of that discussion and be a voice in technology and the development of technology. And lastly is the area of social inclusion. So we certainly don't want anyone to feel like technology is not accessible for them or that they don't feel included. One of the ways that we're doing that is in a program which is our Women's Digital Lab. We're currently piloting this program in the Middle East, and we will be rolling it out at the start of next year in the Netherlands and around the world. And so that's something for you to look out for in terms of if you wanted to get better skills in coding and in digital, this would be a really great way for you to engage with us and improve your skills in that area. So obviously, no one person does this all alone, and we're very fortunate to have an incredible tribe of people who are here in the Netherlands on behalf of Women in Tech within this local chapter with our 2,400 members here to lead the way. And you can start to see some of the faces and names and perhaps some familiar faces and names that you have seen come back. But I'm proud to introduce also a newest member of our tribe, Angela, who has joined us in the media and communications team. And everyone has a unique role within this team who is helping us to bring their passions out. And, you know, the really nice thing about this is that this is something that you choose to do. It is really because you have a passion for wanting to make a difference for women and girls in tech in the Netherlands and beyond. And you're here because you want to be here, because we're all volunteering in this. And I think that's what's, for me, so remarkable about these incredible women that I get to work with and that we all can team up with here in this tribe, because people are really here making a huge difference and because they really want to be. And I think that's where we see a lot of passion and excitement throughout this tribe to really want to make that difference. So I'm very, very proud of the work of each of these individuals. As we start to move towards tonight's discussion, I just want to remind you, in case you haven't found us yet on social media, the very symbolic blue and green logo that you have on the screen here in front of you, you will see across all of our country chapters, as well as from our global organization on LinkedIn. We have a Dutch channel on Instagram, on Twitter, and of course on the website. We hashtag Women in Tech quite a lot, and we're very proud that a lot of the bots pick us up and are continuing to help us to spread that message. And as a final reminder, our Role Models Masterclass is not over yet. So if you have not yet registered, please do consider joining us for the final 2 sessions. And you can also look back at the YouTube films of the first 2 in case you have missed those. So with that, what I'd like to do is start to bridge us into the conversation tonight, and this topic of youth ambassadors and looking for the next generation of women in tech. And there were 3 quotes that I just wanted to take a short moment to read to you and share with you, because I think this helps to get us started in tonight's conversation before I introduce you to our first speaker. So the first quote from Rita Levi in Italy, she says that I like to tell young people, do not think of yourself, think of others. Think of the future that awaits you. Think about what you can do and do not fear anything. And she was a Nobel Prize winner in physiology. And I think it's such a powerful message when, she's really helping us to understand that while you choose your career in technology to do great things, you are benefiting others also by having your role in technology as a woman. Of course, also as a man. And we want to be sure that that's equal. So we want to ensure we have a balance of the voice in what you can do in technology. Now, Marissa Mayer is also a name that probably many of us know, the former CEO from Yahoo. And she says, people ask me all the time, what's it like to be a woman at Google? I'm not a woman at Google, she says. I'm a geek at Google. I love that. And being a geek is just great. I'm a geek. I like to code, and I even use spreadsheets when I cook. In fact, I'd love to hear from those of you that are on the phone right now, in what ways are you using technology in your own private lives to do things like using a spreadsheet when you cook? How many of you have your computers open when you're in the kitchen? I certainly do, and and I really enjoy that a lot, and using digital tools to help me cook better. And I need a lot of help in that space. But I wonder if you could comment on what is it that you like to do using your technology skills that makes life also a little bit more fun. The last quote to share with you is from Susan Wojcicki, and she said something very thoughtful. She says, though we do need more women to graduate with technical degrees, I always like to remind women that you don't need to have a science or technology degree to build a career in technology. And what I like so much about this quote is, we can talk about women who are great technologists, and we can also talk about women who are great at business working in a technology firm. And so that broadens our landscape, that broadens the opportunity that we have to get to work in tech. And that's very exciting. On the other side of it, of course, is that we want to help individuals to become the best versions of themselves and to be great leaders. And with that, what I'd like to do is back myself out of this presentation, because I'd love to introduce all of you to a tremendous great leader who I know. And as I do so, let me move over to the screen again. What I'm going to do is introduce you to Sahar Yadakhan. And let me bring her into the screen. I will remove these slides and introduce Sahar to you. And Gabby, you and I are going to step out, and we're going to turn it over to Sahar, who's going to introduce herself to us and share a fantastic story with us all. So Sahar, may I turn it over to you?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Chiara, for that wonderful introduction. And I hope my slides are on the screen right now.
Yes, they are, Sahar. You're ready to go.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And a big warm welcome or hello to all of you. I'm really honored to be here tonight. So my name is Sahar Yadagari. I'm the director of WHTO, which is a nonprofit organization based in the Netherlands. And our mission is to increase the participation of girls and women in science and technology, and basically to promote more gender diversity in the tech sector. The reason why I'm so honored to be here tonight is also because I can't see any one of you, but I'm assuming that there are a lot of tech females participating in this session tonight. And you are basically one of the reasons why we do this work at WHTO. So it's always it's really great to be able to be in touch with you. Before I forget, I would also like to take a moment to thank Chiara and Gabby for organizing and hosting this session and bringing us together and creating this space in which we can share stories and strategize about future steps. I know a lot of work goes into preparing sessions like these, so I just want to make sure that we acknowledge those efforts. So thanks, Chiara and Gabby, already in advance, and thanks to the Women in Tech movement for all that you do. So let me just say what I would like to share with you tonight, a few words on who we are, why we do this work, why we are so committed to this cause of promoting more gender diversity in the tech sector, what we know from research on this field, and what we do in terms of designing our interventions based on research. So this is our team. We were actually established. We were actually established many years ago in the early 80s as a national expert organization working on promoting more gender diversity in science and technology. And to date, we have reached thousands of girls trying to, with our activities and trying to bridge the gap between these girls and the world of technology, and trying to basically demystify jobs in the tech sector. So we've done this in various ways, by connecting girls to role models such as yourselves, by raising awareness around gender biases in the education system or in our culture and in our environment, and I will tell a bit more about that later on. And this is a photo of our team. We have a mixed team in terms of professional backgrounds. So we have a few techies, and we're quite proud of them. We have a few gender studies experts. We have policy experts, education experts. Unfortunately, no men yet. And so, practice what you preach. We are looking for men, because diversity means, not just women, but also including men in the workplace. Why we do this work, why we are so committed to this cause. There are three main reasons. Then the first reason is basically equal opportunities for every kid. And this is a photo that was taken from a BBC clip. I will share with you the link to the clip later. Maybe you have already seen it. But there's not enough time to show it right now. But what they've done in this clip is an experiment in which they dress up toddler girls as boys. So this actually is dressed as a boy, but it's a girl. And then toddler boys as girls. And then they will bring in individuals, random individuals, and they will ask them to play with them. And then what happens is that the girls, the boys who are dressed as, let me get this right. The boys who are dressed girls will get dolls and teddy bears, whereas the girls who are dressed as boys will get the toys that we typically associate with boys, such as cars and trains and robots, etc. So when these individuals are confronted with their bias, they're actually quite shocked and they're not aware of it. But this also, I think what's also important is that what this experiment shows is that we teach children at a very young age what kinds of topics should be of interest to them, and what we deem appropriate for them. So gender bias starts at a really, really young age. And even though we would like to believe that we live in a society in which our children can pursue any kind of career that they want, in fact, from a very young age, we limit their path. The next reason is economic reasons. We're in the midst of a huge economic crisis, with unemployment rates going up and up. And there are still vacancies in the tech sector. And given the fact that we are facing ongoing digitization in the future, you can expect more vacancies in the tech sector in the future as well. But there's another dimension to the economic argument. Studies have shown that, and there's one carried out by McKinsey that's quite famous, but there are other studies as well, that there's a statistically significant relationship between a more diverse leadership team in a company and their financial performance. So companies that are more diverse, not just gender diversity, but diversity in a broad sense, have a higher chance of outperforming their peers in terms of revenues. And the research also shows that more diverse companies were also better in being able to win top talent and improve their customer orientation, employee satisfaction, and also just simply the quality of decision making. And then there's a third reason, and that is it revolves around, the technologies that we want for our societies. Technology is a very important factor defining our society. We cannot imagine our lives without tech. Obviously, Chiara even cooks with technology in the kitchen. Actually, there's a lot of technology in the kitchen. But I think it's important to realize that we develop technology, and technology in turn shapes us. Just think of how the rise of data-driven technologies have transformed our societies and the way we interact with each other. The fact that we are able to have this session. Technologies can be incredibly powerful in terms of the way they can fix complicated problems, but they can also have problematic side effects. Think about the debate that we're having right now about the disinformation campaigns on Facebook and attempts to influence elections and the huge impact that could have on democracies. Can we fix all of that with more gender diversity? No, probably not. But we need to acknowledge that if we really want to benefit from technology as a society, we need to make sure that the tech sector is more diverse and represents more groups from society, and not just small groups, particular groups. I think that these more diversity, these more voices will enable us to put more perspectives on the table, and we need multiple perspectives to address complicated issues, problems. There's one example on the discussion about using robots in nursing homes for the elderly. There are two perspectives on this discussion. One perspective is to use robots to help the elderly with their daily care needs, or the other one would be to develop robots that could take over the daily tasks of the domestic tasks of care workers or health professionals, in order to make sure that these care workers will have tasks like making the bed, etc. And by doing so, freeing up the time of these care workers to spend more time with health professionals, with the elderly themselves, and have quality time with them. So basically, this is also a question of optimizing the potential of technology for our society. So what we know based on research, I have to say that there's a lot of good research is being carried out, and we are in touch with a lot of excellent researchers from universities and schools of applied sciences. So if you want to learn more about the research behind this, please reach out to us, and my colleague Esther von Schaik is happy to put you in touch with them. But just a few topics to summarize. The social environment of children and girls. As we have seen, stereotypes are there, and they are quite powerful. These are simplified images or characteristics of what men should be and what women should be. They are culturally constructed and powerful enough to work without conscious effort or intention. And what we've seen from research is that the role of parents and the environment of a child is very important in understanding what kind of interests a child will pursue. Interesting enough, the Netherlands has a reputation of being a progressive country, but research has shown that in the Netherlands, we tend to have a high level of associating careers in technology, science and technology, with men and not with women. So there's a crucial role to play for parents and teachers. And then there's the issue of image. You cannot become what you can't see is a very powerful slogan, and I think that's also very much applicable in this context. So it's crucial to bring girls at a very young age in contact with role models and offer them a more concrete picture of professions in technology, and not just the stereotype images that we grow up with. And this needs to happen frequently. This needs to be a recurring encounter and not just a one-off encounter, in order to ensure a lasting impact. There is the issue of self-confidence or self-concept. Neuroscientific research has shown that there is no difference between girls and boys in terms of talent for science and technology. And talent for science and technology is also not a fixed given. It can be developed, and that requires a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. Research also shows that girls tend to underestimate their performance in science and technology in topics in school, while boys tend to overestimate their performance, while the actual results in terms of grades are quite similar. So it's important that teachers and parents are aware that they will also appreciate the performance of girls and boys differently. And it's important to align the self-concept of girls with their actual performance. And then there's the gender bias in the workplace. Obviously, if the girls have chosen for a career or education and then career in science and technology, there is still a lot of work to be done in order to retain them. There's research on different standards for men and women in the workplace, which adds to pressure and stress, which could be an important reason or a driver for exit. And then there's the feelings of being isolated if the numbers are really too limited. The family penalty also comes back on research, and somehow women, experience a higher family penalty than their male colleagues. What we do based on all of this research, basically our mission is to change this, to change the status quo, and we try to do this in various ways. We design activities for girls and their parents. So you could think of speed dates with role models, introducing role models at every level in the education system, code events for girls, and designing a gender-inclusive learning environment, and to make sure that the girls get the ability to pursue that interest at a very young age. And trainings for teachers and career advisors, given the fact that their role is key. And I think it's also important to stress that we have to change the environment of the girls, and not so much the girls themselves. The environment is the problem. And then we have mentoring for young female students, and also young professionals, trainings for employers as well to develop a gender-inclusive workplace. And we use all of this knowledge also to advocate for change at the government level, so produce policy input for governments. And we have our flagship event, which is Girls' Day, a day in which hundreds and hundreds of girls will enter companies, tech companies throughout the Netherlands, and get acquainted with the workplace. And I know a number of you have already participated in this in the past, and we are very busy on designing a COVID-proof edition of this for next year. So feel free to join us if you're interested. It would be lovely to see you there. And with that, I think that was exactly 15 minutes, I hope. So I would like to hand it over to you, Chiara or Gabby, for the next speaker.
I'm here with you, Summer. Thank you so much for your presentation. I really loved it. We do have some questions from the audience, and I would like to ask them to you if you're ready for it.
Sure.
Okay. The first one that we have is from someone who is on LinkedIn, who was joining us on LinkedIn, saying, "Do you always also focus on more teachers who are comfortable using technology? I notice a lot of female teachers in primary school are very language orientated, not so much tech orientated."
Yeah, that's a lovely question, and it reminds me of a conversation I had a few weeks ago. Is that we have a lot of women in the Dutch education system, but we don't have a lot of feminists in the Dutch education system. But that is, I think, that speaks more to breaking those gender stereotyping biases. But in terms of tech knowledge, we have a special program for teachers in the primary education system to basically train them to give coding, use Scratch, the Scratch training program. And we have developed YouTube films. My colleague Shirley DeWitt has recorded a number of YouTube films to basically educate teachers on this topic. So you can, it's really accessible.
Okay. And they are accessible via your website?
Yes, no, I will share the link to those films.
Okay, I think our audience will appreciate that. Thank you for that answer. I really love it, and I think educating them is a really great idea. Then we have a second question. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but her name is Zinat, and she is asking, thanks for this session. I am interested to know how you and your organization can help with making tech educations available for kids with different abilities, kids from less financial aid available. Thanks again for your time.
That's a good one. So in terms of the kids from, that have a challenged socioeconomic background, we have special programs for those groups as well, because often when you do these coding events, you will see a lot of girls who have parents who will already promote pursuing a career in this direction, but we need to reach groups, girls who will not have those the same opportunities. In terms of kids with different abilities, that's I think a really great idea. I'm not sure if you've designed anything specific for that, but it's something to think about for the future.
Okay, so good takeaway for you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that.
Okay, thank you so much, Sahar. Thank you for answering those questions, and thank you for a great session and giving us some insights into what you do. I'll be moving on to our next speaker of tonight. So if Kara could bring her in. Hi, Rashmi.
Oh, I thought Tanisha was going before me.
Yes, I also think so. So Kara, if you could bring in Tanisha, I had my pitch prepared for her. Thanks. Hi, Tanisha. Super happy that you could join me here. Hi.
Hi, Gabby.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Are you able to hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you properly. So Tanisha, I'm going to give a quick introduction on who you are while Kara is going to bring you back. So I really admire you. You are a very young professional, and you are actually going to talk to us about imposter syndrome tonight.
So we've just lost the signal with Tanisha. Oh, she's coming back in now, so I'll put her back in.
I'll continue the introduction. Thanks.
Hello, I can see you now. Sorry.
Great. So this is better. Your image looks way better this way. Tanisha, I was introducing you, so I'll continue doing that. I just told everyone that I really admire what you do. You're a very young professional. You're very driven, ambitious, but you haven't always been so outspoken about it, because you know what it's like to deal with imposter syndrome. I am super inspired by you because you also have set up She Is Rare. I'm very curious to hear about what you're going to tell us and hear about your experiences. And I hope the audience can take away some insights from you when it comes to overcoming your imposter syndrome.
Great. Thank you so much for introducing Gabby, and thank you, Gabby and Carol and Women in Tech, for giving this opportunity to share my experience with other younger generation and also the STEM workers as well. So I hope to inspire you all to just be brave and, overcome imposter syndrome so you can build confidence. And yes, I am a junior business analyst at News UK, and I'm also the founder of She Is Rare. So that's an organization which I recently started just in lockdown. And I've been grateful for all the opportunities as well. So in my presentation, I'll be talking more about what is She Is Rare and the missions of it, but also how we can overcome imposter syndrome and build confidence.
Can't wait.
Great. So Shall we move on to the slides? Are you able to see it?
I don't see any slides yet. Kara, are you able to bring the slides up?
No, not yet, because I can't see anything. There's nothing being shared right now, Tanisha. So I need you to bring them back up on your computer.
I'll just retry it again, and then it should be working. So I've just shared my screen. Sorry for the interruption in the internet, but now you should be able to see it, Carol.
We do see them now, so you can kick it off.
Great, thank you so much for confirming. So hi guys again. So as I said, I'm the founder of ShewsRare and a junior business analyst at News UK, and I work on the Sun multi-site for News UK. And there's many other different brands inside News UK, like the Times and Wireless. So, but I recently started my career as a working woman, so it's just been about 2.5 years to me in the working world. And to be honest, tech wasn't something that I was considering as a tech career field that I should go into when I was at school or at university, because in my mind, I wanted to choose economics and go into investment banking. But because of my journey in school or so, and then I thought, tech is the one that we should be going forward with. So that's why I came into the media and technology sector, and technology is a great sector to be in. It's very much diverse, and there's so many different skills that you learn and pick up, and you can implement it, which benefits everyone globally, or, it's just so useful. So whatever application you create, it benefits a lot of different people. So I'll tell you more about what is ShewsRare, because you must be thinking, how does ShewsRare relate to tech or STEM? But I thought because it's about women in tech, we should have a bit of catchy name. So I set up this organization which aims to spark change in diversity and inclusivity in workplaces. Because when I started working in the technology industry, I didn't see a lot of diversity in the workforce. So I wanted to do something which brings more diversity in workplaces, or at least raises that kind of awareness that we need more diverse workplaces. And specifically, it's not about just women and men having that gender balance, but it's also about having different ethnicity and origins, people from different cultures, and just being more diverse in many different ways, so that you have a diverse table when you're making decisions, and which eventually benefits the company or the business, because you've got diverse minds working together. And then also the other mission of ShewsRare is to instill passion in young people to choose STEM subjects. This is mainly because when I was at school, I used to have investment banking firms coming into our schools to provide us, the inside days to what is the banking career. But I didn't feel that we had a lot of tech companies coming to schools. And if that's possible, or if that could be made possible, so then the younger generation would know and be more aware about the tech field. So this is definitely something that I wanted to raise awareness and, instill passion in young people through ShewsRare. So which I do by having some ShewsRare STEM stories on the ShewsRare website, but also getting engaged in different events and raising awareness through workshops and going out and talking about what is ShewsRare and the different STEM careers. The last mission of ShewsRare is about seeing more women in leadership, especially in the field of technology, because until in my career, I saw that, I couldn't see many young leadership which were women in the workplaces. So which made me think about, okay, so why don't women come into the tech, or why are they not there in the senior leadership positions? So that's why I thought, it's good that I should be reaching out to some, senior leadership women who are out there currently working in tech in senior roles, and ask them about how they got to where they are, because I didn't have any role models that I could look up to. So through ShewsRare, I'm able to contact different people and see how leaders, how did they get to where they are currently. And I'll show you a glimpse of what the STEM careers or what kind of content She's Rare has on its website. So these are just teasers, and it only covers few different careers that's there in STEM. But STEM has many more different, fields and careers that you can explore. So this is just some of the leading ladies from News UK, BBC, and District Health Board in Auckland, and Microsoft's Chief Security Advisor, Sarah. And all these ladies who I just reached out to and started asking them how they got to where they are and got their STEM stories. So if you go onto She's Rare website, you'll be able to see all these lovely ladies and how they got to where they are, what attracted them to the STEM field, what is their biggest achievement, and the different advice that they would give to us. So it's very inspiring and motivating to find out, and it really motivates the next young generation as well. These are all the different kind of questions which you can find out in STEM stories, because I was really interested when I was putting this together, and I created a form and I sent out to all these ladies. I was just like, but what does your role mean? What's the interesting and challenging part of what you do? How do you find navigating your career path as a women in tech? And did you even have any mentors or role models that you look up to? Or what kind of support do you get from mentors? How to make the best use of them, and what advice would you give them to 21-year-old, but also what makes them rare? So there's lots of different examples and advice that many women from different STEM careers have given. So I hopefully make sure that you do check out STEM stories and She's Rare website, because it's there as a resource for younger women and girls out there to get inspired and see that as your role models, and hopefully you can see them as role models but also learn what their strengths and weaknesses are and develop it. So that should be something which I really encourage young people to look into, because when I was younger I didn't have any role models, or I didn't know what each different STEM career means, there wasn't any kind of a STEM stories resource there. So hopefully this makes a difference, a little positive difference in bringing girls more into tech. So this is all the different websites and social media channels where you can find more about She's Rare. And if there's any other questions, you can still just ping me on shesrare@gmail.com. So that's in the footer there. So what I'm going to be talking about today, I'll tell you more about how to build confidence by overcoming imposter syndrome, because that's something which I've gone through. And you hear this phrase, or you might speak to yourself, kind of saying you're not good enough, but in your mind you're saying you're not good enough, but then you're amazing actually, really, when you start to build that confidence and have that faith and believe in yourself that you are on the right track and you are doing what you can. So we'll discover more. And what we will be learning today, so we'll define what imposter syndrome is. I specifically didn't know until I found out, there's this thing, imposter syndrome, which can affect many people. It doesn't matter whether you are a senior, junior, in school, or CEO of a company, anyone can go through imposter syndrome. So we'll find out more what it is, identify some imposter syndrome types and feelings, which categorizes imposter syndrome, and understand how we can overcome these kind of feelings. What are the strategies which we could take? And some of them are something which I have taken myself. So first we'll go into what is defining imposter syndrome. So you must be thinking, what is imposter? Is it means pretender, fraud, or what is imposter? It sounds something different. So it's actually a person who pretends to be someone else in order to trick people. So this is something you can say that they're performing they're on the stage like an artist, and they're tricking people by saying something or pretending to be someone else, which they're not really. So they're not a fraud, but in their mind they think they're fraud because they're tricking people. And syndrome, specifically, syndrome just means a group of symptoms which consistently occur together, or a condition characterized by a set of associated symptoms. So this is how the Oxford Dictionary defines what a syndrome is. But when we put imposter syndrome together, that actually means persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So they just believe, that person who's going through imposter syndrome just believes that, you know, they haven't just achieved all this success because of their effort skills. It might have just been because of luck. So they say, oh, it's just because of luck by chance, or, you know, they don't really believe that they've actually worked for it. They'll be like, okay, we don't deserve this, and, you know, it's just happened somehow. So this is a problem, and it's a big issue that anyone can go through at any phase of life. It doesn't matter where, as I said, whether you're a senior, junior, or a CEO. It can happen to anyone at any time. There's no length defined in terms of you'll go through imposter syndrome at this period of time and it will end after this period or this month's time. So it's very much in our control to overcome these kind of feelings by taking some positive actions. So I'll give you an example of how this imposter syndrome can work in real life. So I've got two circles here, which look like little Pac-Man, but they're not. So let's consider them as people. So there's one person A, and then there's person B. So person A says to person B that, I see you did a great job, well done. But person B replies back to person A saying thanks. But actually, person B, in the back of their mind, they're thinking that person A just said to me because they're saying to be polite, they're just being kind, you know, I don't know what I'm doing really internally, and I don't think I added any value, it just happened, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this. They'll just find out I'm a fraud and they think I'm an imposter. So even though the person B here said, you know, thanks and appreciated the comment of person A, but actually in their mind, they have all these negative feelings going on saying, you know, I don't really deserve this. You know, what should I be doing? Why are they saying to be? You know, they might just be acting really kind because they're my friend or so. But that's not the case. You know, person A might have actually just said because you did good work, but you're just not having that faith and confidence in yourself that you do deserve that success, and it's because of your efforts and skills. So I researched more about imposter types, and, you know, we can't just be one person, one categorization of an imposter. So found out that there's quite a few different imposter people that's been categorized into. So one's called the perfectionist, expert, the soloist, the natural genius, and a bit of the supergirl and boy. You must be wondering, such good names of different categorized types, but this syndrome feeling doesn't sound good. So what is the perfectionist, the first imposter syndrome type? So this perfectionist person just sets almost like impossible high standards. They are just constantly worried they're not meeting expectations. And that's because they have really high standards, which, you know, no one can just meet, or they can't meet themselves. And in their mind, they think the failure is when you're not achieving or giving your 100% performance. Now, no one's perfect, and we all should keep that in mind, that nobody's perfect and you can't be perfect. You just have to be good enough. But they think that making no mistakes and being perfect is how they validate themselves and say that they're competent. But that's not right, because making no mistakes, no one is like super perfectionist that they never make a mistake in their life. So how can we overcome that perfectionist imposter syndrome? I realized that I was this person as well some time back at university. I just wanted to make sure that all my essays, you know, were like perfect. They had no mistakes. But sometimes you just need to realize that progress, you need to show progress in your work rather than perfection. If you show them the little pieces and how you're progressing on the work, is what makes the other person appreciate your work so far. They're not looking for how perfect is your work. They're looking for how quickly you do it and what is the progression that you've taken for your work. You need to own and celebrate your achievements as well. It's something which I realized I never used to do that before, because I used to be like, okay, you know, they're just saying it because I did the work. But in my mind, it was like a really little piece of work and I don't see that as achievement. But actually, you need to realize when anyone says you did a good work, because that's your achievement and it's because of your skill and what you can do. So you need to own and celebrate your achievements. And it's okay to make mistakes as well. Nobody's perfect. And there's a mantra that I follow is that see your mistakes as learning opportunities. Either you will do perfectly fine or you make mistakes, but you'll also learn something from your mistakes. And force yourself to act now, which goes back to the progress beats perfection mantra, because you need to act now. There's no perfect time to take an action. You just need to do it now. Moving on to the next imposter type is about the expert. So this expert person who has imposter syndrome just thinks they need to know everything. That's not possible until you're like a Wikipedia who knows everything and they expect to know everything. And they feel that people are more mature and experienced. This is something I personally experienced when I was starting my career in tech, because I finished my exam on Friday and I was at work on and when that happened, I felt like I was in the working space and everyone's so more experienced and mature than me. And I got my job offer when I was still studying at university in the last year. I felt like, why are they giving me a job offer? I'm still having, passed my university exams, final year exams, and I'm just here. It's, just being there. And everyone's just so mature and experienced than me. So in terms of the failure, this person thinks that I don't know is something which I shouldn't be saying, because if I say I don't know, then I'll be considered as failure and be shamed. And whereas the knowledge is something that they see as competent. Whereas for the strategies, how you can overcome being an expert is just practice just-in-time learning. Just do when you have to do. And it's okay to admit if you don't know something. Just say that you don't know, you don't understand, and just ask the person who knows it. Avoid comparisons with other people, or also mentor colleagues or volunteer for your skills. So when you start mentoring your colleagues, you share the knowledge, and that could help to, divide your expertise with other people. So that's quite helpful as well. The third imposter type is around the soloist. So this person, which I've also gone through, is that they must feel that all the work must be done by themselves all alone, and they need to figure out everything on their own. No one can figure out everything on their own. You need to have a team, or if you don't have a team, you need to seek advice from other people, because you don't have all the knowledge and you need other people's skill and help as well. But this soloist person just finds it so hard to ask for help. And I'll be honest, I used to struggle from asking for help from other people. But I started to work on it by, sharing, just by admitting that I don't know, and saying to the people that, I need your help. And I used to be specific in what kind of help I need from them, which gives them a clear direction of how they can help me out. But actually, in soloist mind, they just think I don't need anyone's help. And if they do everything on alone, then that shows their productivity and their skills. But that's not correct. So how to overcome being a soloist imposter syndrome person is by talking with others to find a solution and not just taking everything on yourself. You need to also maybe see if there's any collaborative projects that you can work on. So I started to look into at work as well, working more with other people. So if I start to work more with other people, it naturally starts building your team, building skills as well, and forces you to ask for help from other people, because you can never do everything on your own. And if someone is giving you on a hand to help you out, don't refuse it. So if they're assisting you, don't refuse their assistance, and realize that nobody can do everything on their own. The fourth imposter syndrome type is the natural genius. This natural genius person just thinks everything should be easy, everything should be done fast, and it should be done the first time. They have impossible high expectations, kind of similar to the first one of the perfectionist, but they think this should be done easy and quick as well. So they think it's failure if they say, I can't get it wrong the first time, and they keep thinking this. And ease and speed is how they say be their competent person. So how can they be a person to overcome the natural genius? So you need to see yourself that you're a work in progress. It will take you time to progress through it. You cannot naturally know everything and do everything the first time right. So I started to realize this as well. And you should be making sure that you do understand your career journey is not like a sprint, it's a marathon. It will take time for you to build your skills and learn through it. So you need to appreciate your accomplishments, and it's a lifelong journey to build your achievements and skill building. So you can also start to identify what triggers this kind of behaviors. So I started to look into and identify the specific behaviors, what is stopping me from being, seeing myself as a natural genius, that I want to do everything right for the first time. So I started to make and document everything down on like a paper or a document and identify those behaviors, and then start working and find out solutions of how I can improve it. And you need to make sure that you focus on sharpening your skills, because that's how you will build your lifelong journey of learning and celebrating and appreciating your accomplishments. And the last imposter type, which brings it back to the super girl and boy. So I'm sure this might sound a bit more fascinating, that it's not like, some superhero women and boys and girls flying in the air. But the supergirl boy in this kind of imposter syndrome means that they should be excelling at everything perfectly and easily. They are like super girl power, and they just need to know everything, do everything, and everything should be perfect, and just everything should be right for them. They can turn into a workaholic and has difficulty in delegating tasks. So they don't know how to distribute work, so they just take everything on them. So it's a big prioritization problem here. So they fail to juggle and excel in multiple roles. They pick up everything and they be like, okay, I need to be good at this role as well, and I need to do this as well. But you can't handle multiple roles. For example, you need to prioritize. For example, if you're a mom, you're a working woman as well, and in the workplace, you've got different roles to handle. You can't do everything right until you prioritize and have that mindset. So for them, they think working and being a workaholic is how you're seen more competent. So how can you overcome them is making sure that you use your failures to discover how to improve. You need to see your mistakes as learning opportunities, as I said before, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. I used to be afraid to be making mistakes before, but then when I started to realize that, actually by making a mistake, I'm learning so much more. I'm getting more skills and experience of how to juggle and use my failures to discover just, what even more things I could do. So that really boosted my confidence. And it's much more encouraged that if you seek out and mentor, because the mentor can guide you and share their skills with you. And they're much more experienced. So even if you have any problems, they can guide you and, just say how you can overcome different problems. And you must remind yourself that constructive criticism isn't personal. When you do ask people for feedback, some of the feedback might be you might first feel that it's personal, but it's never. The other person who's giving you feedback is giving you because you can take it, and they just want to help you out and be best and encourage you to just be there out and learn from your feedback or whatever criticism you're given. But the main priority is make sure that you prioritize your work so you don't turn into a workaholic. But some global strategies in terms of just high level, what you need to keep in mind is to make sure that you are your best friend forever, because when you are your best friend, you won't be saying some really bad stuff to your friend or yourself. So you need to first realize that you need to look after yourself. You are your best friend, and you need to say all the positive things about you to yourself own. So that can help you build confidence as well. You won't have any friends if you have if you have any friends, they won't come up to you and, you know, be like, you know, you're not doing your work well, or you should just leave your job, you should be fired or so. Everyone is there who would encourage you to be your best, and they will help you solve problems if you have. So try to remember that don't be hard on yourself, and just treat yourself as a friend as well. Celebrate yourself and your accomplishments. That's like the major point. You need to slow down and take a moment to realize what you have accomplished, how far you have come. Seek help so you don't load everything on yourself. You need to remember that seeking help is not a failure. It's actually really helpful because you build more skills and you learn how to make sure that you can ask for help as well. So it's really important to bear in mind that you're not considered a failure if you ask for help. Volunteer, so that doesn't mean to start saving the world and going out and doing all the different volunteer projects. Well, you should get involved in volunteer projects if you're interested. But in terms of imposter syndrome, the volunteer means to build your confidence by getting involved in projects where you think your skills could be enhanced if you take a part. So if you, for example, at workplace, sometimes if I feel like I have a skill which I can contribute to a project which I'm not involved in, or in the project only there are some other roles which, as a business analyst, I feel like I can do it or support some other person, then I would say and step up and say, you know, can I get experience or get involved in this part of the project? So which really helps. And that comes back to the end. So if there's any questions or so, or feel free to check out Choose Rare on the different channels. So I'll pass over to Kara.
Thank you very much, Tanisha. And, you know, we have had a lot of discussion going on in the chat. And because of timing, there's just one question that I think I'd like to just pose to you. And this came from Stera. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And that was the question on, do you think the imposter syndrome is more common in the tech world? And if yes, why do you think it's more common?
Great question. So in terms of imposter syndrome, I've only experienced the technology and media side where I'm working currently, but I feel like maybe because it could be the case in tech, you need to find out support from people. And I don't think it's just specifically in tech, it could be in different industries and fields as well. And it's not even just, it could happen to you in a career. It could happen when you are at university or, you know, as a student. You just feel like you are doing not great at school or at university or at your exams and stuff. So it can happen at any period of time and in a different career field as well. But you need to make sure that you control your thoughts and just overcome it so it doesn't ruin your confidence.
Yeah.
Hope
It's
that's...
really, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I think many people, including myself, were reflecting in listening to you on the different dimensions of imposter syndrome and which ones resonated more with us. So there's been a very lively chat going on, which perhaps you can just scroll through that. And if we have time at the very end of tonight's session, Tanisha, then we may come back to you with a final reflection then. So without further ado, I'd love to thank you, Tanisha. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Rashmi. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring Rashmi into the screen. And Rashmi, without further ado, I'd love to hand over to you to share your thoughts with us tonight.
Right. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, that's just building right now, Rashmi, and it is in full presentation mode. You're all set to go.
Okay, great. So my name is Rashmi Sharma. I would like to take a moment to tell you all that I'm very excited to be here. This is a cause very close to my heart, to get more girls in STEM, and I will get to the why and the how and the what of it in a minute. Kara and Gabby, you've been running a really tight ship so far, so thank you for that, for this session. And you've already heard Sahar and Tanisha. I have to say here, my name is Rashmi Sharma. I'm not related to Tanisha. If you know anything about India, or if you are from India in the audience, you probably know that Sharma is a really common surname, just like Janssen in the Netherlands or whatever other surname in your country might be something that occurs very often. So we are not related. I wish I was. She's a really inspiring young woman with a wonderful story to tell. So like I said, I'm from India.
Rashmi,
Yes.
I'm going to just dive in really quickly because I want you to know we can actually see the speaker version of your presentation. I don't know if that's your intention now or if you wanted to have it in slide view, but we can see sort of the speaker version of your slides.
Okay, let me take a moment to then share the screen in the presentation mode.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Let me see if we can add that back in. Yes, now you're in your presentation mode. So I'll step back out and hand it back to you.
Okay, good, great. Okay, so back to my introduction. I have been working in the IT industry for more than 20 years. I'm currently working at Oracle, also almost 12 years here, and I am very happy to be working in the software engineering industry. To tell you a little bit about how I got here, and also to talk to the theme of today. I would like to take a moment to encourage you to think your own standpoint on whether you believe in nature or nurture, the debate that all of us are familiar with. And while you're thinking about this, I will tell you my own personal story. When I was 15 years old and took the secondary school exam in India, my highest score was on math and Sanskrit. So if you don't know what Sanskrit is, it's an ancient language comparable to Latin. It is, I believe there have been experiments that show that Sanskrit is such a structured language that it could even be used as a programming language. I don't know what the latest development on that is. I think the jury is still out there. But if I had a crystal ball at the age of 15, math and a computing language, I could have put 2 and 2 together and said, okay, my future is going to be in the world of programming, software engineering, etc. But I did not have that crystal ball. The school that I studied in offered only 2 streams. One was art, so you could study social science, political science, home science, or you could study just the traditional science topics, physics, math, biology, chemistry, etc. Considering my high score in math, my performance, I chose for the science stream. But 2 years later, when I was 17 and I was going to study at the university for my undergraduate program, I, at that point in time, wanted to think a little bit more about, okay, what is the career that I would like to go in? And like a lot of children, a lot of young people, my mother was a teacher. She was really passionate about teaching. My father was a civil servant. And I thought, okay, either I can be a teacher or maybe I can be a civil servant. Do I really need science for that? Maybe not. Maybe I should just study something of political science, switch my education to an arts field. But my mother was insistent that I study science because, again, I had gotten good marks in my academic exams, etc. And I think if there are any people here from my generation, Indians of my generation, at least all our parents seem to be obsessed with us getting a job as a doctor or an engineer. For the longest time, I couldn't understand why, but at some point in time, I did realize that becoming a doctor or an engineer gives you better, or gave us in that time at least, a better prospect of job security, of doing well professionally and financially. And a country with millions and millions of people, if there's anything that adds to your chances of success, you take that. Anyway, my mother wanted me to be a doctor, and I am of the firm belief from a very young age that being a doctor is not a profession, it's a calling, it isn't mine. I am someone who is willing to call the ambulance if I cut my finger. Another story for another time. But in any case, because of her insistence, I decided to study science. And 3 years later, during the summer holidays, through a friend of mine who was doing some introductory computer course, some basic word processing, spreadsheets, SQL, and I thought, okay, why not? Sounds like a good summer hobby, I did join that course and I fell in love with computers. As a result, I ended up doing my post-graduation in computer applications, and I have worked as a programmer, a solution architect, etc., etc. I currently also still work in the software field, and I'm very, very happy that I, through a number of chance and deliberate choices, ended up where I did. So fast forward to 20 years, 25 years, 20 years in the industry, 25 years from when I started this story. Now we are at the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution. The last three revolutions brought us a lot of automation in terms of mechanization, mass production, electricity. We've seen the world of computers almost. I mean, even this video conference, this kind of live streaming would not have been possible 25 years ago at this scale. And now, as we enter into this stage, the next 10 years are going to bring us to many more developments when it comes to intelligent automation, when it comes to artificial intelligence, when it comes to robotics. And that means that the skills that are required for these future jobs are also going to be different than what we know of at this point in time. So while I was preparing for this talk, I also looked up some facts, and I'm sure all of you can find these resources online. I have included them here in my presentation anyway. But like I mentioned, the STEM occupations, so the science, technology, engineering, and math jobs, they are going to grow in the next decade. Sahar in her presentation also mentioned that children of all genders, they do not show a difference in performance when it comes to math and science. But despite those findings, despite that research, something happens in the course of our lives that eventually the majority of students who are studying the STEM fields in higher education are boys and men or young men instead of girls. As a result, you can understand that if there are less girls studying these STEM fields or completing their education in those areas, the labor pool is also smaller. There are less women who enter these jobs in the STEM areas, where again, due to different factors, maybe discrimination, not being recognized enough, not being paid as well as their male counterparts, lack of role models, peers, and all kinds of other situations, are much more likely to leave their career in STEM than men, and especially once they become parents. And these systems of bias that push women and also maybe other groups out of the STEM careers, they can also influence the product and services that are being developed by these STEM organizations even today. I believe there's some research done, I think also at Harvard, which shows that even Alexa and Siri already shows gender bias. It can be something as simple as the word doctor being associated with a man and the word nurse being associated by a woman. Not only that, if you look at the Global Gender Gap Report from the World Economic Forum, you see that if you look at the top three categories of jobs, for example, cloud computing, engineering, data, and AI, that world over, there is a huge dominance of men in these jobs compared to women. And if you look at the data in the Netherlands, that's even worse in these areas. I'm sure I saw in the comments that there are people from various countries who've joined in this session today. If you want to look up the data on your own countries, you can go and find it online. But not only is this the current situation, but if you look at the education and skill level in the Netherlands, for example, there's only 9%, less than 9% girls finishing their STEM education compared to about 27% men or boys, young men. This, of course, continues to hold in place that gender gap that I just talked about. And this is why we need to make sure that we ensure more young girls to go into STEM education fields. Another study done by the European Institute for Gender Equality talks about what the impact would be if we were able to close the gender gap in STEM on employment. So I think that, if we extrapolate and we say, right, there are more girls who are going to finish their studies in STEM, that automatically means that we will increase the labor supply in these sectors. I read one of the statistics said that 40% of the jobs, of the vacancies in STEM areas are very hard to fulfill only in UK because there's not enough skilled labor in those areas. So if we have more capable, more skilled girls who can fulfill such vacancies, then obviously, that's going to create more jobs. There's going to be more opportunity for them to find a job in the STEM areas. And that will increase automatically women's access to well-paid jobs. Normally speaking, the STEM jobs are better paid than other industries comparatively and are also less sensitive to job volatility. So talking about redundance, etc. So this gives I hope this gives you an idea why it is important to encourage more girls to participate in STEM fields when it comes to education. But I think that these are, big plans, studies, pan-European, global, there's policies being made, et cetera. But I think just like Tanisha also showed us, and Sahar also mentioned this, we can all do something at an individual level, at a corporate level. I work at Oracle, and we have been proudly participating in the Girls' Day, which is organized by VHTO, I think even since 2013. What we do on that day is that we use the opportunity to expose young girls in the age group of 12 to 14 to come to our offices to experience a day at an IT company up close, to find out what is it that we do behind the screens. In 2019, I think we had up to 75 girls from 2 or 3 schools that participated in this activity, and we organized workshops for them on different topics, on different technologies that Oracle uses for our business customers. But these are, of course, also developed and built by men and women. And we would like these young girls to know what does it take to build such things. So take the example of customer experience. All these young teenagers, they are familiar with online shopping and how all of that works, but the thought that goes behind into designing such a customer experience and to how to improve that customer experience, that's something that hopefully gives them a visibility into a possibility for themselves to maybe grow up and choose for a career in one of these areas. At the end of these sessions, we always ask the girls for feedback, and I would really like to share one. We give them a piece of paper and we ask them to write a number on it to grade us from 1 to 10, how that day went, and to share with us one positive and one improvement comment. And this is something that one of the girls wrote on the back of that sheet of paper, and it really warmed my heart. And to me, it felt like even if I could influence one girl to choose a career in STEM or a higher education in STEM, then my objective was achieved. So to wrap up, what I would like to say to you is that if you're here, you are a woman in technology or in STEM, then please be proud of who you are and what you've achieved. As you saw, the numbers already show that we are not so many when you take the bigger picture into account. So the fact that you've made it so far, that's already something that you should be very proud of. And if you are somebody who's happy and successful and energized by what you do, then please pay it forward. Create visibility and opportunities for young girls. If Tanisha can start She Is Rare, I'm sure there are many more ideas that you can come up with, to engage with young girls around you at whatever level it is that you are able to. And lastly, I want to say that girls are just as scientific as boys by nature, so let's nurture that. So to come back to my opening slide of nature versus nurture, I do believe that girls deserve to have the same capabilities and deserve the same opportunities as boys. Okay. that was it. I'm going to
Thank
stop
you very much,
sharing.
me. I really loved your presentation. I especially really love the girls' days that you talked about, and the valid points that you're bringing up. So I have a question for you. I'm very curious to know what you think we could do to help more girls and women actually get inspired to get into tech. Because from a cultural perspective, I'm Dutch, but my parents also told me I'd better start doing something in my studies that would actually put food on the table, right? So how do you think we could tackle that opinion?
So I think that there are a number of things that you can do around that. And like I said, you have to, like, I don't know if you're talking about just yourself as an individual or as an organization. But I think that if you look around yourself in your own environment and see young girls who are looking for advice, parents, they should really think about how they can encourage girls to think about science and technology. If you're part of an organization, you can volunteer, you can engage with VHTO. Sahar is around. And I think that the stereotype of something being more a women's work, like education or healthcare, those are not the only areas where women can be successful and realize their potential. So I think that if that is something that you believe in and you spread the message, take every opportunity to create that visibility, then I think we will get there.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope the bias will disappear one day.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so that we don't have to have this conversation in 50 years' time.
Yes, exactly. That's why we're here, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed what you presented to us. We're also getting good feedback from the audience. They loved your data and your presentation. So thanks a lot. What I want to do now is introduce our next speaker and the last speaker of today. Her name is Demi. She's from the Netherlands, just as I am. We met also recently through LinkedIn, great technology platform. And she's from PyLadies Amsterdam. I will give the word to you, Demi, so you can introduce yourself and take it from here.
Thank you, Gaby, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. And let me get my slides up. Okay. I'm okay?
Yes, you're good.
Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you, organizers, for bringing us all together. I'm Demi, and I'm a co-organizer of PyLadies Amsterdam, and also a junior product manager analytics at MessageBird. Today, my initiative is, and my goal is to make you feel inspired to also undertake an initiative to help others grow. I hope to lower the bar and just get you started with some hands-on tips on how to start your own initiative. So first a bit about PyLadies. PyLadies is a worldwide organization, and the local chapter that we have here in Amsterdam is led by Ilona and me. We are an initiative to bring more diversity into technology with a focus on Python programmers. So a little more than a year ago, I met Ilona, and we met each other at an offline meetup, and both were a bit fed up by all the high-level diversity and inclusion talks, and we missed actions. So we teamed up and decided that we wanted to have a meetup where actual coding happened, because that is what programmers like to do. So what you want to have as a programmer, you want to share code, see good code, and connect with programmers from all over the world. Let me just quit this. So that is what we did as an initiative. And this is our version of action on diversity, and that is diversity in technology, and that is PyLadies. So with Proud, I want to give you some stats about what we achieved in the past year. So we organized 6 offline meetups and 7 online meetups, 1 free 5-week programming bootcamp, and we could give away some free tickets and be in a lot of panels to drive diversity and awareness about diversity in technology. We could never have done that with the mentors that we have from all over the world. So there must be over 100. So if you're watching, thank you so much for contributing to PyLadies Amsterdam and helping other people learn. So why I'm showing you these stats? It's because it shows what 2 persons with full-time jobs and social lives can achieve when they have a shared passion. Even if I speak about myself, I didn't have a lot of coding experience or a lot of organization building experience. Also, no social media experience, but it was a matter of just doing it. And a year later, we achieved this together. So Just Do It is grounded in everything that we do in PyLadies. But organizing a bootcamp was one of the highlights that in this came forward. The bootcamp, Data Analytics for Beginners, was a 5-week bootcamp for people that had zero coding experience. So in 5 weeks, they learned about doing data analysis with Python, visualize their findings, and using the coding language Python to practice their visualizations and improve their storytelling. The bootcamp was entirely free. And yeah, like I said, everything that we do is grounded. Feedback is grounded in everything we do. So yeah, what you can see about this slide is that people actually really liked the bootcamp, and I'm super proud to show this because we had 100 signups, over 100 signups, and in the end, only 50 people, made it to the end, 5 weeks, and we got 26 responses from our bootcamp. And before we started doing this, we never had the idea that this could be so big and that so many people around the world came to our bootcamp. And also, I never done that before, so it was really quite challenging, I would say. But such an initiative is really nice to do, but also for me, it was the first time. And here you can see actually how many great feedback that we got. So people liked it. And yeah, I want to share with you how you can also undertake an initiative. There's 2 things that you need for a nonprofit or a free initiative, I would say. And one of those things is a goal. And my goal was actually to help others to make a transition in tech. And the other one is a skill. So if you have a goal and a skill, you can basically start your initiative. My skill was data analysis with Python. So if you, and as I promised you, you would feel inspired after this talk. So I want to invite you to grab a note and write down for yourself what your skill is and what your goal is. So we set you up for success to learn about how you can start your own initiative. So maybe I can ask some of the panels, somebody in the speakers, how is your goal and what is your skill? Do you have one? Can we maybe also start a new initiative?
So, Rishmi, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead, Tanisha.
So in terms of this goal that I have in my mind, or specifically how I got to, because I was reading the comments as well, so it was quite interesting. So I think the goal that I had in my mind when I was starting to start working in the tech career was that I wanted to give something back to the community and make sure that I raise awareness of tech career in the younger generation. like as soon as I started career in my technology, I just knew that I need to help others and the younger generation to be aware that they're STEM subject and come into it. And the skill that came out that I need to do it was building up She's Rare. So I used different skills from like website designing to communication marketing, which helped me achieve the goal. So this was something that was in my mind, but also making sure that I documented somewhere.
That is great, actually, to hear. So yeah, maybe to make it a bit concrete, you actually need those two things.
Did
So
you want
for
me to also chip in?
Yeah, of course.
Demi?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Right. So one of my goals is to make sure that there are more women in tech as well. But it's for me, it is, you know, diversity and inclusion is something that I'm very passionate about, and I am part of also a nonprofit organization where I am responsible for diversity and inclusion, and that's the other way around, where there are a lot of women. It's a volunteer organization, and I'm looking at how we can include more men in there. So I think it works both ways, and for me, that is something that is my goal, to have more diverse and inclusive society, or the way we live in all aspects of our life. And one of the skills that you know, that I don't know exactly what your question was around the skill. Can you go back to that?
Yeah, sure. So, well, it's more of that, what is the skill that you have? For example, for me, it is, I'm pretty okay with doing data analysis with Python. So that was my skill. And the goal of this line is more that if you have a goal and you have a skill, you can start your own initiative to help others. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So my skill, recently, a couple of women from my team, they told me that if they have a difficult conversation or you know, a politically sensitive situation, that they come to me for advice. And I think that the topic of diversity can also be a bit sensitive. So I am very happy to coach my colleagues, other women, younger women, on having those crucial confrontations, crucial conversations. And I think that is something that is useful in having that conversation around diversity and inclusion.
Definitely. So we can expect maybe a training from you in a few weeks to help others with this.
Sure,
so we have
happy
a new initiative
reach
that
out
you're
to
going.
me.
So if you want a training about this, please let us know in the comments. Okay, thank you for doing that and helping with the goal and the skill that you have. So basically, we need a goal and a skill to start an initiative. And if you place two things in the same sentence, just grab I want to and your goal, and then with your skill, and ta-da, you have your new business model canvas. Nailed it. So what I want to try to highlight here, it's not very important that it is like that everything is chewed out the way how a perfect business model canvas looks like if you want to do something or to help others. Just do it, have a passion, have a goal. And the good thing about doing stuff for free is that everybody is happy that you're doing this and sticking your time in helping others. So I hope you wrote down your goal and your passion and your skill, so we can go on to how we are actually going to take that goal and scale into an initiative. So basically, you need two things to get your initiative started after you define your goal and your skill. And that is a social media post and a Google form with 5 questions. A social media post will enforce you to make it sound good. So it will make your initiative feel good, like, and you need to think about how you're going to sell it. Don't worry if your social media point at the moment of your social media post, you don't exactly know yet what the full content of your initiative is, or maybe you just have to still think about it. You will figure it out along the way. So make sure that your post includes high level what you want to teach people and what they can expect from it as well. So there is a link here to the full post that we made for this bootcamp to give you an inspiration on what you should include in this post. But make sure that you high level have that people know when your initiative is happening, what they can expect from it, and so what they get out of it if they finalize the bootcamp or your initiative. It is also very important to include a Google form, a feedback form. So we choose a Google form. It's very handy, and you only need basically 5 questions to put that into your post to get your initiative started. The questions that you want to have answered there is the name from the participant, the email, what the participant wants to learn from your initiative, the level that they have from the skill that you're going to teach them, and you want to know how they would use their skill in the end. So you can build your own initiative or your own learning experience for them and tailor it towards your audience. Okay, well, voila. You have your skill, your goal, and you can now have 2 tools to get your initiative started. To be honest, me doing this was also mainly repeating to myself in a land of blind. The one-eyed woman is queen. So if you have a skill that you can do a bit better than somebody else, you already have something to teach others. You don't have to be the best in it. So that was something that I keep saying to myself as well to keep me doing this. That is what I wanted to share about how to start your own initiative. And now a bit more about the bootcamp that we organized. So we'll dive a bit more deep into the specifics of organizing a bootcamp or a training session. So what was important for our bootcamp? We in June, the 5-week program happened. And it was basically me giving 4 weeks of 1.5 hour interactive Python coding class. And the participants could choose to attend at the end of the project if they want to do also a final end project with mentors. During the full course, during the 4 or 5 weeks, they were supported by mentors from all over the world. They could ask questions in Slack at any point of time. So before I share some tips about how to create good content and to host your own session, let's take a moment to view what the participants found most useful. So what you can see here is that 84% of our participants really like the end project. So they learned the most from doing a Clapstone project in which they could use their skills for a final project and present that to the rest of the audience. We organized the last session where they had 5 minutes to present their findings, and they got some feedback there. So some tips for you to get started with your content. It is very important to test the level of the participants up front. People are usually not very good in determining their own knowledge level. So at the same time, they get quite disappointed if the level of the training does not meet their expectations. To migrate that, you kind of want to give the participants a task on forehand, in which they have to solve the task, and then you can answer them. For example, also, do you know how to work with, or if you already know how to work with this tool, or you have heard of this particular element, this course will be probably too easy or too simple for you. So then you give people kind of a level indication of your content. Also, if people, if you want to dive deeper into, for example, the level of Python that people have, you could also give them an article to read up front. Online, you can find a lot of useful things, And you can share this article, and then say to them, this is the level of our offered the bootcamp. So if you already know this stuff from the article, you probably are too advanced already for this type of bootcamp. Furthermore, feedback forms are the best, like they're your best friends. After every session, please send out a feedback form and gather what people like from it. Also, at the end of your session, in the middle of your session, gather feedback. It's the most valuable thing that you can have to improve your own sessions. Also, one thing that we have done during the bootcamp is that we just created the first session and did a general outline for the rest of the sessions, but they were not filled in yet. So based on their feedback, we tailored the bootcamp to the participants and the feedback that we had. Again, the internet is full of useful things. And because this is a non-profit initiative that you have, most people just really wanted to enable you to do that and help you with your initiative. So if you ask people, hey, can I use your content? They will say yes. So just reach out to people. And final thing about the content is create a final project. A final project wherein they have to take all their skills and work together in a team and present something to the audience that was considered very valuable to our learners. Then some last general tips about doing a bootcamp or an online training session. We saw that it was very, very important for our learners to communicate with each other from the start. It was important for them so they could already get some questions answered. So for our bootcamp, we created 3 different channels on Slack. 2 of them were public, an introduction channel and a help channel. The last one, the help channel, was for mentors and was private. So learners had a channel where they could have their questions answered. But what you mainly see is if you put so many people in a Slack channel, people are quite frightened maybe to answer questions. So what helps is if you have a mentor glued together to a group and help 4 or 5 people in that group where they have like a safe space to have their questions answered instead of a big group. It is very important to set clear expectations. So create a schedule with fixed deadlines that provide some reading material on forehand. Take into account that some people pick up information just faster than other people. And to keep people engaged, you can have some extra material to share. And for example, share some useful links, extra reading material if your session is done. We also recommend to choose your own, choose a streaming medium with Q&A, like we have here, for example, and maybe Gaby, you can also share some tips about a great streaming media and other general tips.
Yeah, sure, Dami. So I really like what you're saying here. So it depends on the format of what you're trying to do. So if you're sending over information, it's okay to use StreamYard or to set up a Teams call and mute everyone. If you really want the interaction, I would really recommend Zoom, because you could put everyone in breakout rooms and they can really work together and they have an interactive session. And if you do something like a bootcamp, then I think a tool like Slack, like what you're mentioning, is perfect for this.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, so we have maybe other general tips as well, but like in the majority of cases, you want to record your sessions. People just really like to go on their own pace and go on their own pace. Let's stick to that. So the last, furthermore, we set up some general email templates, so that you don't have to send out every day before your session starts, type out your whole email again. Because if you have a general template, it will enforce you to already think about the session that comes up, and you can fine-tune your content for that session as well. It is very important to send out as much emails that you can to enable your participants to can find the right link. I learned that oversharing is maybe better than undersharing, because we got a lot of questions in LinkedIn and via our email about things that we already shared. So I think I would recommend to overshare better than undershare in these type of cases when you're doing a free session. Also, creating a certificate. People really love to share the things that they learn, and it means more publicity for your initiative. Last tips: no more than 4 sessions in a row. It's just because that if you're doing this alone, or you give the content alone, you also need the time to rest, and you need to still be liking it at the end of the 4 session or the 3 sessions. So if you feel a bit under the weather, or you're not feeling that engaged anymore, it's better to have a bit less sessions or work together and team up. So do it together and find mentors that those are mentors, like people that can help you with your initiative. And last but not least, don't overthink it, just do it, and go start your own initiative. That was it. I hope it was valuable for you. We have some extra, we created a Medium article about this, article about how to give your own bootcamp. So you can also go read that article if you need some other tips that I didn't share at this point. If you feel inspired and you want to start your own initiative, please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us on Amsterdam@piladies.com or me personally. And I think the ladies here from Women in Tech will also be happy to have your questions answered or help you to set up your own initiative. So thank you, and thank you, ladies, for having me here. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you for being here, Demi. I really love that you've given us a very hands-on presentation on how to start your own initiative and given us some really good examples of how to do that. Thank you so much for this. Due to time, I want to ask anyone who has any questions to connect with you on LinkedIn or email amsterdam@piladies.com so that we can start wrapping up the session. So if Kara can bring everyone in together with us, that would be great. Hello, everyone.
Hey there.
Thank you so much for all of your amazing sessions today. Really, really enjoyed listening to all of them. I hope the audience did too, and everyone who's going to watch the replay will also enjoy the sessions as much as we did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You too.